Okay, here's the deal.
What's up, Tiger Lily?
The city
Champion City
is in trouble. Not available.
Okay, you know what? Can we just start again?
So what do?
You call it a mystery man.
I like the way this man thinks.
Yeah. Should we not, or just let ourselves in?
Hello, welcome back to Almost Cult Classics, the podcast. My name is Joe Ramoni. With me, my friend and co-host, Ryan Lancello.
Howdy, folks.
Today we're talking about a movie from 1999 called Mystery Men, directed by Kinka Usher. And much like Wild Wild West, this was a movie that I grew up with. Did you grow up with this one as well?
Well, I mean, I saw it.
Around?
I saw it in theaters. I definitely was hyped for it. I thought the trailer was fantastic. I remember as a kid, I was like, ooh.
I don't remember the trailer.
I want to see this.
I think this was like a Blockbuster rental, but
Plus, the trailer had like disco and stuff. I'm one of the few people alive that still likes disco. I love disco.
There were also action figures for this one. I didn't dig them out. I had them, and they were... Yeah, they made like the spleen came with a little can of beans. It was like, they did the whole thing. But I want to get into our thoughts on the movie at the top of the show because I found Wild Wild West last time. I watched that movie. It was like, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but it kind of, I didn't come out at the start and be like, I think that movie was not as bad as everyone says it is. And that's what I'd like to say at the top of this show. I don't think this movie is as bad as everyone says it is. It's got its problems. There's a lot going on, which we'll talk about in the production, that just ultimately I think really hurt it. But I don't think it's that bad of a movie. What did you think?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, but
No.
I don't know if pleasantly surprised would be the way to put it, but I was like, cool.
Yeah,
I didn't hate it because I've been watching a lot of shitty movies lately, and like I was like, all right, maybe that's it. My expectations were really low, but I don't know. It was too long.
I was kind of surprised.
It's
too long.
122 minutes.
2 hours, yeah. It's way too long. And I watched this movie twice. I watched it regular, as is, and then I watched it with the Kinka Usher commentary. Because we were talking before we did this show. When I'm watching this movie, particularly that first nursing home set piece with the red eyes, whatever they're called, I'm like, this feels like Joel Schumacher Batman. It just the way it's shot, the like over the top colors and the cartooniness of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to dig deep and figure out if there's some crossover between like the Batman production. And just in doing research, I came up with this urban legend that Tim Burton secretly directed this movie. And Kinka Usher was like a pseudonym that he used to escape, not the case. Very cool urban legend.
He is a real person,
but
though.
he is a real person, and he did the commentary on. I have the Kino Lorber 4K, and I typically don't watch the movies you do on the show in 4K. Usually, I'm streaming it, just whatever is available, or I have a DVD somewhere. This movie looked pretty good in 4K.
I believe it.
And Kinka Usher, he was a commercial director.
Dude, some huge commercials, by the way.
Like those 90s and like 2000s commercials.
Bell. Dude, you couldn't get away.
He did a few of them.
You couldn't get away from that fucking chihuahua, man.
Yeah, we like cute little animals in our marketing back then.
I suppose.
But a huge, huge career. I mean, and just like I was reading that, like, I think it was his Wikipedia page that he sold his mansion to Ellen DeGeneres. Like, so this guy made some money doing commercials. It comes to think, if you want to be a filmmaker that makes money, go into commercials, because that's where
you definitely will make money. But I remember I was reading that thing you sent me, and someone was like, "Oh, this commercial director, they just gave him a movie." Like, that's not unheard of.
No.
Ridley Scott got his start.
He sounds like such a great guy in this commentary. He's informative. He is super down to earth. He talks kindly about everyone, even people he probably should have. The one interesting thing is, like, every time like one of these small bit part people pop up in the movie, where he's like, "Oh, and this actor is someone I worked on commercials with." Like, he brought a lot of those little character actors from his commercials into this movie. Some of them just look so strange and unique, and it's. When you're directing a commercial, especially the visceral way he kind of did them, they're basically short films.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't think he was unqualified for this job. It might have been a little bit hard to manage just the talent. I mean, there's so many, people in this movie, and just the scope of it and the scale of it and the special effects might have. But of the things that are the problem with this movie, the direction to me is not one of them.
No, I agree. I think the movie
story-based.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
All the shots are good. Like, it's a cool looking movie.
Yeah.
I think that gets a lot of it over. The cast helps too.
Well,
with the exception of the lead
cinematographer, Stephen Barum. Let me read you some of the stuff he has worked on, because that was the other thing I looked into when after I discovered that this Tim Burton rumor. I'm like, all right, well then why does this movie look so interesting? This guy, many movies we've touched on in the past, including The Outsiders, Rumblefish, Body Double, St. Elmo's Fire, The Untouchables, The War of the Roses, the DeVito movie. He does a lot of work for DeVito, Raising Cain, Hoffa, Carlito's Way, and The Shadow. So,
wow.
Yeah, you start to see some... We always talk about this. It's weird that they come back up where it's like a lot of these movies and guys, it carries over that we talk about. We seem to pick movies that revolve around the same kind of people. It's almost like 6 Degrees of.
And, for sure.
But this movie divides not only critics, it divides, fans. Even in today, people are still pretty divided on it. Going over to Patreon, we have a couple comments from people. Brian says, after watching Mystery Men for the first time since renting it from Hollywood Video, I can unequivocally say that it is a giant piece of dog shit. The director, Kinka Usher, must have really studied the Joel Schumacher playbook of making a shit comic book movie, and I can see why he went on to direct Volvo commercials afterwards. Ben Stiller gave his absolute worst, quotes, comedic performance of his career, which...
I'll agree with that.
I tend to agree. It's the worst Ben Stiller.
I don't know if it's the worst Ben Stiller. I don't like when he plays meek.
It's just that, man who, digs himself deeper by trying to explain. It's just that...
It's so tiresome.
It's,
it drags.
In Meet the Parents, that works. Was I don't know if that's probably after this, but it's just that character in,
contextually, it made more sense there.
I like that he's kind of like the one that's like the straight man in these bizarre characters, but sometimes he plays it a little too silly.
I don't even know if it's silly. It's just it's all right, dude.
We get it. You're annoyed, you're tired, you're frustrated.
You know what it is?
Tone it down.
We've all seen enough movies that we know the basic formula. So we know right around 15 minutes at the end, he's going to realize his wrongs.
Right.
So you got to sit through fucking 90 minutes of him. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just bad character development. It's boring.
Yeah, I agree. Another Patreon comment, Wade Wilson says, I honestly loved it when it came out. I was 16 at the time, and it definitely hit that late 90s teen vibe. That's something you can... It's weird. The thing I really enjoyed about this movie is we've discussed this before, movies where you can't tell when it takes place. Is it
or where?
The 60s, the 70s, the 80s? It kind of all... But some of the actors and choices are so distinctly 90s.
For sure. But yeah, I like that retro vibe. Where it's it's kind of 50s-ish, 60s-ish.
That's like William H. Macy's character. It's is he from the 1950s? His world, his home life, which we'll get to it, but I like the fact that they didn't address the interracial marriage stuff. It's just kind of there.
It's definitely meant to surprise you a little bit.
But they don't linger and really kind of get into it. There's not
no. I mean,
she's not an over the top stereotype. He, it's
his
just
kids probably could have been a little lighter. But
yeah,
hey, who knows what happens with genes? So,
and there's a ton. I don't know if you watch any of the deleted scenes for this movie. There is a ton.
Are there?
And a lot of it gets into their life outside of what they do. Because in the movie, it's kind of we see that Ben Stiller's character, he has a day job. He works in the junkyard. We don't really get with the other people. And the deleted cut, there's we see Hank Azaria's character at his job, and
so please, what do they all do?
He works in I think it's a tailor shop, and William H. Macy works in a construction site. And there's also Wes Studi's character, who's the Sphinx.
Is it Studi or Studi?
I think it's Studi, but do not go by me.
Yeah, the Sphinx. Why? What's he do?
He appears earlier in the movie, kind of as a busboy at this taco stand they go to, who's he's familiar with them. They actually go to this taco stand looking for him to recruit him, and Luis Guzman plays the guy who runs the taco stand.
Dude, there are so many people in this movie.
There's a lot of people in it.
That's why I like it. Everyone's game. Everyone's pretty good.
And it's a lot of people who, excluding Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, a lot of people who you wouldn't see leading a movie. Yeah.
And I remember, too, when this came out, I liked everyone in this very, very much.
Janeane Garofalo.
I loved Janeane Garofalo.
Did you really?
I said it last show. She has presence.
Okay.
And that one role she plays, because she really only plays one role, she does it fantastic. Yeah. Janeane Garofalo.
Aubrey Plaza owes a lot to her.
Yeah.
She kind of borrowed that shtick of I don't care, but I'm witty and funny, and it's funny. I was watching do you ever see the Friars Club roasts? Back before Comedy Central kind of took that and made it their own. There was they would actually roast comedians, and they would wear tuxes, and it would not. There's is it Drew? No, it's Jerry Stiller. Jerry Stiller's being roasted, and Jeff Ross gets up and says, "Man, Mystery Men, that movie was so bad, I wanted to fire my agent." And it cuts to Janeane and Ben. They're on the dais, and you could tell Ben just lips. I should fire mine. Like, he just seems kind of like a brat a little bit.
Ben Stiller?
Yeah.
I've heard as much.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
some
he's
instances.
like, you know, you come up royalty in comedy, you know? He probably didn't...
Also, Jeff Ross is a hack. So
I'm
maybe
not saying that. He also did say Gene Siskel was going to review this movie, but he took the easy way out. That's kind of funny.
Oh, because he died.
He died.
Right.
Man, you're stone faced. You don't like Jeff Ross at all, do you?
Oh, total Uber hack. You want to hear the funniest joke ever about Jeff Ross?
Please.
It's my hero, Patrice O'Neill. He's fuck. I'm gonna mangle it so you can cut this dead air out.
This is the Sheen roast.
Yes. Let me formulate it in my head. I'm gonna butcher it.
Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah, go
Jeff
ahead.
Ross, his comedy, he's like a legend. Well, it's more like a myth. Whereas, like, we've all heard he's funny, but we've never really seen proof of it.
It's like, I believe in Bigfoot,
Yeah.
but I've never seen him.
Yeah.
Jeff Ross is a legend. His funniness is a legend. But when I say legend, I mean a myth.
But yeah, man, it's a testament to 90s comedy and where it was at, because there's so many, you know, interesting people, little bit parts that are just trickled throughout this movie.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, you know, I liked Paul Reubens for what he was. I was a huge admirer of Hank Azaria. He's extremely talented. I mean,
What Simpsons character is he doing in this movie? Because you're more versed in The Simpsons. Is there one that comes through, or is it just like an amalgamation of like all those?
He just can do any voice.
But it sounds so like familiar. It's got to be
his,
something.
Here's the thing with when you're doing an impression.
Inside the blue dot. It's like very.
I shouldn't even say impression. If you're just doing voices, your voice still comes through a little bit.
Yeah,
so
sure.
that's the through line you're getting there. It's like Trey Parker.
Yeah, you can detect his natural.
Right. He's doing the
It's
Indian.
like Frink a little bit.
He does Frink at one point.
Yeah.
When he sits on the fork. But there's one point where someone's on the phone and it's like an Indian voice. That's him.
Okay.
I noticed because I'm like, oh, it's a poo.
Yeah.
And then, but the effete British Blue Raja.
I kind of like the character and the way he plays
I love the Blue Raja. Yeah. It was excellent.
I like he's got that King of Comedy thing with the mother, where as soon as she comes in, he's kind of dropping the act and like, are you smoking the marijuana?
And
he's got incense burning everywhere.
The Blue Raja character is so good because it's entirely nonsensical.
Oh yeah.
Why is he even throwing silverware?
Why is he throwing silverware?
It has nothing to do with anything. Like,
that's the one thing I wish this movie did a little bit better, is kind of explain why all these people want to be superheroes. Like, it's you've got the Captain Amazing, played by Greg Kinnear, that everyone idolizes, and then is everyone else just trying to do their own thing? Like, what is you know what I mean? I wanted that to be a little bit more.
I liked that it wasn't.
Really?
Because let me fill in the gaps of this weird world where like superheroes and villains exist, and then you know there's all the hanger-ons essentially. Like, well, I want to do it too. Also, I got totally caught off guard at the beginning when the red eyes come in. Mm-hmm. And you're right, that is very...
Oh, it's like...
Schumacher.
Well, it's like Batman 66
exactly,
type stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was almost like... Oh, no.
And later in the movie, when you see the gangs at the table, that's very Batman 66.
It's
like,
great.
all the henchmen look alike, and they all...
But when they're doing that initial... Like, they're in the circle dancing, I was like, oh, no, this is going to suck. And then it kind of just... I was like... First, Tom Waits is flirting with old women, so I was like,
great.
All right, I like this. And then the red eyes come in... Did you catch who it was?
It's Artie Lang, yeah.
It caught me so off guard. I'm like, it's fucking Artie Lang.
You know what I thought it was at first?
We should do Beer League on the show.
That'd be a good one. I thought it was, you know, the naked man on Seinfeld, the guy on the subway car, that like Italian-y looking guy. I think he's whatever one's not Nathan Lane and Timon and Pumbaa. He's the warthog one. I thought it was him at first, and then I remember Artie on the great Gilbert Gottfried's podcast talked about how his mom went to go see Mystery Men. And after that scene, she called him from the lobby of the theater and said, "Are you in it anymore, or can I go?"
It's just funny seeing Artie Lang in a supervillain kind of outfit.
Yeah.
Like, I really got
eating
me.
cake, and that's kind of the one thing too, where the Blue Raja, the forks work in that because he's got the cake, and it's a very
you throw a spoon.
It's
I'm terribly sorry about that. I have to say this too, because we are on the Seinfeld thing a little bit. Never fails. But when they leave after the fact, when Captain Amazing comes in and saves the day, and they leave, and that cop's out front, it's George in the dealership.
It's
the mechanic.
Yeah,
it's Kip and Ned. Yeah. But it has my favorite George
short name, Kip or Ned.
Best George sound ever when he looks into the garage and the guy bites the Twix and he just goes, "Oh!"
That's one of my favorite episodes. the car dealership.
A lot of people hate that.
I love that
the later
episode.
seasons. I love the goofy later seasons.
Well, the whole episode, and not only that, it's just like George be like, yeah, like I'd bring my car to the dealership to get service. It's like he's completely outraged that they're even there. Putty, it's a great Putty episode.
You did a candy lineup? It's so stupid.
And that's the other thing too, where it's like he had no money. How would he get? You don't question it. Actually, I was watching that. Speaking of Austin, this movie, that's another thing. Austin Powers influence. You can see a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But that second Austin Powers where he confuses the coffee with fat bastard shit. And it's like, you look at the setup and it's just like, why would the shit be next to the coffee? Because it's so ludicrous, it works. You know, you kind of shut your brain off and that's what...
I haven't seen Spy Who Shagged Me since it came out, I think.
It's got its moments with the Rob Lowe stuff. And
I don't even remember.
Did you ever see
I didn't like it.
We talked about on one of the episodes how when you discover there's deleted scenes for a movie, it's kind of like game-changing. But I remember, it might have been TBS or TNT, someone did a special airing and they put deleted scenes from the first Austin Powers in. And one of them is like this scene where I think it's the guy that gets hit by the steamroller. It's his wife getting called. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's so funny. It's like framed like it's like a TV movie with a sappy music, and there's a little boy. She's like, "I've got bad news for you, Jimmy. Daddy got crushed by it." It's just like, it's so ridiculous, but it's really funny.
I think Austin Powers is probably due for a reappraisal. It's fucking great.
Yeah,
at least I remember it being great.
Yeah. That there's sometimes I just catch myself watching clips from it. I think that's a movie series that if I revisit it now will be even more rewarding because I'll finally get those jokes. Like,
perhaps I hated Goldmember, but
a lot of people seem to have that.
So long.
I feel like that's just like 1 and 2 are kind of special, and then 3 is just like a greatest hits collection of jokes from those other movies. Plus, yeah, you know, Beyonce, and it's Goldmember.
She can't act.
Yeah, I did also pull again divided critics. Like Ebert hated this movie. But I have a Paul Clinton from CNN. Do you know much about him? Does that name say anything to you?
No.
He says, Mystery Men is shot in bright primary colors and is the directorial debut of Kinka Usher. The first effort offers great visuals. His tightly packed shots are framed like panels from a comic strip cartoon, which I kind of love that. Did you catch that? There's a lot of like wide angle. It almost, I mean, because you read comics, right? It looks like it's visually...
Maybe it's just because everything is gray and like
I think that's
blue
what it is.
now.
Even the CGI in this movie, I had no problem with.
Love the color in this movie.
Like,
gotta bring color back to movies.
I agree, or not like just flat, washed out comedy lighting.
I hate it. And look, even the poster's got it's great poster, great color.
It's the Champion City, as it's called. It's CGI, but even watching it in 4K, I think it's because the way it's lit and just the way it's like not like overdone and bombastic. It's just kind of. Also, I like the Chinese lettering that's everywhere. Did you catch that?
It might be. I hate to say. It's not Cambodian or Thai, but yeah, it's some kind of Asian. I like that too.
Even in the commentary, he really get into that, and I'm like, is it like made up or is it actually even on like the Pepsi patch? It's in another language.
Could be Korean. I don't know.
It's just another interesting choice.
I loved it. I thought it was great. Great set design. Phenomenal set design.
So before we get into it, this movie is based off of something called Flaming Carrot Comics, which was created by Bob Burden, and it was originally at Renegade Press. It bounced around before it ended up at Dark Horse Comics, which I forget. I don't know what else they've done, but I know they're pretty Sin City, Hellboy, Buffy. So kind of like your more adult, I guess you could say, stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then I guess in 2004 it moved to Image Comics, who are responsible for Spawn, Kick-Ass, stuff like that. So, well, good company. You know, it fits with those. But I think that what Mystery Men is versus what this Flaming Carrot was are two different things. I think in this, Flaming Carrot is essentially the Captain Amazing character. And then I think even this, it's not... Like, let me see if it even says who the characters are in this, because I don't think they were the same. He was Flaming Carrot was also a founding member of the blue-collar superhero group Mystery Men, introduced in the flashback dream sequence in Flaming Carrot number 16. The Flaming Carrot himself does not appear in the Mystery Men film, although characters like Mr. Furious, the Shoveler, and Dr. Heller do. So I think those are the only, like, 3 that are brought over from the comics. So it might even be, like, not fair to say it's a proper adaptation, because it's kind of its own thing. And... that's the other thing watching this movie. I'm thinking, was this movie too early or was it too late?
That's a good question.
You know? Because have you seen The Boys?
I watched the first season. It was all right.
Yeah.
After that, I didn't.
But
just lost
that I
interest.
like that like focus group approach to, because let's be real, if superheroes existed, they would be marketed and there would be publicity and there would be press behind it.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't be, the Bruce Wayne who goes and does his own thing. There would be focus groups and think tanks, and that's what I liked about especially the Captain Amazing character, who's also like a piece of shit.
Greg Kinnear's awesome. Where's Greg Kinnear? He's great.
The Matador, that's another one we should come back to. That'd be a good one.
But dude, he's fucking hilarious in this movie. And, you get one of my favorites in there. He plays the best kind of slime balls, Ricky Jay, as like his publicist. So good.
Yeah, Ricky Jay is illusionist or a magician, right? And then he became an actor in... Paul Thomas Anderson has used him a bit, right? Yeah. He's another
David
guy you
Mamet.
look at and you're like, this guy he looks that... He's like, the businessman, he's handing out cards, shaking hands.
He's got a couple books. One is Cards as Weapons. And he was a good card thrower. He used to go on like the Tonight Show and stuff and
throw cards.
Yeah. And
that's so cool. And the Tonight Show used to just have like weird people with goofy talents
got
come on.
another book by him though. It's called Learned Pigs and Fireproof Women. And it's about like all the old... It's like a history of like sideshows and like...
Interesting.
Yeah, Ricky Jay's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting fellow.
Yeah, and he plays like this, I guess, publicity or like press manager for Captain Amazing. So, the movie... Do you want to get into the plot a little bit?
Sure.
The movie opens with a nursing home, a very interesting looking nursing home, a party they're having, which if anyone wants to know what a Sons of the Desert convention is like... This is what that's
you might
like.
have to explain what that is.
Sons of the Desert are... at one time, they were probably a group of very young, enthusiastic, passionate Laurel and Hardy fans. That was about 40 years ago, so they're now all elderly people. And I've been to a few of the conventions. And don't get me wrong, there are young people who are members, but the overwhelming majority of them are like boomers or like a little bit outside of that age group. And it's just full of elderly people wearing like the Shriner hat. And it just looks so strange because, like, originally that was the thing. We're lampooning the old Shriner organization. Now they've become an old Shriner organization. Eventually, it will be just me. It'll be the Son of the Desert, and it will just be me around a table talking to no
Sitting
one.
alone with your fez.
I'll be the last one.
Yeah.
But yeah, a very interesting scene because you have Tom Waits who's trying to pick up these old women. You've got those 3 Asian women who are like singing the song. It just looks. Like you said, the color, it's that weird, it's almost like grimy looking. And then we have these group of villains bust in called the Red Eyes, led by Artie Lang, and they're just robbing all the elderly people. I love when the movie begins with like the C tier group of villains.
Yes.
That quickly get their asses handed to them, and then we don't see them again the rest of the movie. I like when a movie opens with these they're almost like asides. They don't connect to the main plot. Well, it's like the Indiana Jones movies were great at doing that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It drops you right in. Like you're like, oh, this is a world where this like weird low level gangs almost like do stupid shit, and then the low level heroes come in and
that to me is the great part, especially about this scene, is how fucking incompetent they are. Like they almost make things worse by showing up, and I like that. I mean, the shoveler, his whole thing is he just carries a shovel, and just. He's not even very good at handling it. He doesn't do anything cool with it. He's just kind of bashing people around. The Blue Raja throwing the forks and like that's, again, it technically could be a power, but it's like
he's very good at it.
They're not lethal enough to really do anything.
No. And he won't use knives.
And the joke with Ben Stiller as Mr. Furious, like not being able to get like thinking originally in the movie, it's funny. I think in this scene, when he hops up on the bar and you think it's going to be a big moment, even with the cop a couple scenes later, it's the fact that he's just completely has no power. It's a good...
And I like the idea, too, that, like, it just wasn't, like, he can do it if he actually gets furious, but he's not actually getting...
Right.
It just, every time, it's like, okay, we know where we're going with this.
Yeah, so apparently... Kinka was such a collaborative director that he encouraged a lot of the actors to kind of find the characters on their own and bring things to the table. And apparently it was largely Ben Stiller, Paul Reubens, Janeane, and Hank that were doing all the kind of improv heavy stuff. A lot of the good moments from the movie resulted in them really playing around with the delivery and changing dialogue around. And he seemed like, again, this is the only feature film this guy's directed. Like this was one and done for him. He didn't seem like he particularly wanted to do it. He did it. he did not like the process and never went back and did it again. Which we've talked about movies like that before, Cabin Boy and other things, where you're like, this movie was not bad enough to ruin someone's career like that.
Should have absolutely made another movie.
Yeah. And it's a bomb. I mean, the budget was $68 million. It ends up making 33 because it opens against a little movie called The Sixth Sense, which in August of '99, which just completely. I don't know because you were a little bit older than me, but people not expecting that movie would be big.
Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
Nope.
It was a sleeper hit.
Oh yeah, and it was one of those things.
Disney was behind it, I think, right? Like Touchstone or something.
Nobody really cared until people saw it. We're like, whoa, that's one of the last word of mouth movies I can think of. It didn't open at 1 or anything. It built up. It actually was one of the last movies I can distinctly remember. Like, I don't think it opened at number 1, but then it did.
I hate to burst your bubble. Yeah,
whatever. It stayed at number 1, I would imagine. It was a huge movie.
Yeah, I mean, it opens number 1, making $8 million that weekend, and number 2 was Runaway Bride in its second week, and then Thomas Crown Affair was a new release that weekend, and Mystery Men opened at 4. So, and it might just been like there was not a lot out, and I think people were probably just starved for like an original non-franchise tentpole kind of movie, and Shyamalan did it then. You know,
I mean, that blew people's minds, dude.
It almost kind of hurt him because he opened with that. You know, I mean, we talked about that movie he did with the baseball and the Rosie O'Donnell.
Is it Wide Awake?
I don't know. I always forget what the fucking name of the movie is called. But I think he surprised a lot of people with that movie, and even he couldn't live up to his own.
I think Unbreakable's great.
Unbreakable's a good one.
I think Signs is good.
I keep seeing this meme on. I think it might have been like The Onion or someone did. It was like, M. Night Shyamalan says it's not so easy to make a Last Airbender show, is it?
Well, there's something I've less than zero interest in.
But anyway, yeah. So they're trying to stop these red eyes from robbing these elderly people and failing horribly at it. And that's when Captain Amazing comes in, who is just like your typical poster boy superhero, good looks, smile. You know, his suit is. I think that's a really funny gag that he's wearing. It's like a NASCAR thing where he's got sponsors. That's such a funny concept.
It is.
And they're almost like he's got the big A on his chest, but then there's like the battery company and Pepsi. And it turns out that he lost Pepsi as a sponsor because this is where we have the Ricky Jay character comes in and explains to him that he's losing his sponsors because all the villains are gone.
Yeah.
He put away all the villains. So that's kind of where the plot ends up setting up and ends up happening. But before they leave the party, the mystery men also meet Heller, played by Tom Waits, who's
always good. I love Tom Waits in the movie.
It's like every time he's in something, it's phenomenal. And he plays a weapon, kind of their weapons dealer that comes back later in the movie, except he makes non-lethal weapons. But he even tells them, like, you boys need weapons. Like, you can't. And that's another thing they don't really get into. Like, why are they so about non-lethal stuff? I guess because they're just trying to be like the good model superheroes.
Yeah.
They don't.
Sure.
It's not really working for them.
That's what I'm saying. It's suggested so many times, like when they meet the Disco Boys and they have guns, and they're like, your theme, it makes no sense, and oh, you have guns, wow. It has that suggestive nature of they don't really use guns in this world.
Yeah, because he even says to them, he's like, you boys, or you need firepower. And it's like, yeah, you kind of do, because the whole thing with the Disco Boys, when they show up, it's like, there's a whole point guns at them.
Yeah, just kill you.
Yeah. So it's like, I get that there's a clever workaround for that. I don't know if the movie quite does it. I wish they kind of explained it a little bit better. But another, I think, person having a lot of fun in this movie is Geoffrey Rush as Casanova Frankenstein, which is just such a weird...
Where's he? Did he get sick or something?
I don't know.
Geoffrey Rush is awesome.
Yeah.
Very good in this role. Very funny. Really digging into it.
I stupidly never knew he was Australian. I always thought he was British because he plays so many British characters.
I didn't know.
I knew he
either.
wasn't American. I just thought he's an Australian. And I think this was like his first American movie.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, what else was he? The first thing I remember seeing him was those Pirates movies, and they were like a couple of years after this. I think he was a very, let's see.
For some reason, I feel like Geoffrey Rush was everywhere.
He was in Shakespeare in Love the year before this, which... that's a movie I've never seen, but I know very divided. People are very divided on that movie, and should it have won, should it not have won? Yeah, he's in that. So, but it's still, yeah, he hadn't really done much. I mean, so this is another inspired casting choice. The character just looks, especially in this prison scene or the asylum that they're in, he's got long, creepy, long fingernails, hair hanging down in his face, and he's up for parole, and they're considering releasing him. And then you have Captain Amazing's alter ego, Lance, who just billionaire Lance, and he wants to get him freed, so he has people to fight in this world.
So that was the whole thing. It's like, nursing home.
Yeah.
It's not super exciting. Nobody really cares. Like, he needs a villain to fight, but he's locked them all up. They're all gone.
So he's going to release Casanova Frankenstein by reading a fake letter that... This is the thing, too, this movie, that I think it works, because it shows just... It's a good satire of the superhero thing, where no one knows that he's Captain Amazing because he has glasses on. Mr. Furious has a theory that that's who it is, but everyone's like, dude, he wears glasses. He can't be the same person.
How would he see?
Yeah, it's...
If we had a billionaire like Lance Hunt as our benefactor, yeah, we could spend $150.
That's because Lance Hunt is Captain Amazing.
Oh, don't start that again. Lance Hunt wears glasses. Captain Amazing doesn't wear glasses.
Stupid gag, but it actually works.
And another scene, a group of scenes I really like in this movie is whenever they're in that diner.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a cool looking diner. I just love whenever shit's filmed in a diner.
Yeah,
I think it's a lost aesthetic. I think we don't...
I was a big diner guy.
They're gone. In this city especially.
I'm not really a big diner guy anymore.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And if they are, they're like shitty. They're only open weird hours. Like a 24-hour reliable diner. I'm sure in New York they probably exist a little bit still.
They're around.
They're around. There's none here.
In Philly?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Not a one.
Outside of Philly there are.
Yeah.
There's 24-hour diners.
I mean, Jersey's kind of big on them, but... I like the heart of the city diner. The little silver-looking train car that's just plopped in the middle. There's something so cool.
I may have tweeted it out. I think I found it. There was a PBS documentary about all like diners in Pennsylvania and stuff. I was literally I was crying watching it. It was
follow Ryan on Twitter for more insightful.
Hey, I mean, it's like it's like that. I keep coming back to Gone with the Wind. I was just like, because I loved going to diners, and all that's gone. I'm like, God damn it!
Mutual friends of ours, Ryan and Joe, shout out. The three of us around the fall took a trip to Sleepy Hollow, New York, and we stopped in, I think it was White Plains.
Yeah.
And we found a diner like this, and it was amazing. It was like breakfast only cost like $7. Mm-hmm. It was, great coffee. One of those places where it was all right there. There was no... it was... Fuck, I love that.
I know. I could not agree more.
Do you ever go to Tom Jones back in the day?
Yeah, oh yeah. Many a time. If you want to explain that to the listeners.
A family restaurant, it was called. I don't think they're 24 hours anymore, but in the suburban kind of Philadelphia area where Ryan and I grew up, there was a 24-hour diner with orange upholstery, and it was open 24 hours. They had this thing called a Blue Ribbon Special, which was, I think it was less than $3.
It was like $2.49. It might still be.
There's no way. That thing has got to be $6.75 at this point.
You might be right.
But it was like 2 eggs any way you wanted them, pancakes, toast, coffee. It was just like...
Tom Jones was a legend.
And going in there like late at night, it was just the perfect...
It was a blast.
It was the best.
And there was that vibe in there. Like, I think it's somewhat close to a college.
Probably, yeah.
Widener or
something's
Westchester?
Up there. Yeah, not Westchester,
no.
but maybe Cabrini and
maybe.
I don't know.
But it just had a great vibe. It was always fun. Everyone's, it's all fucked up.
Yeah.
If you're in there at 1 a.m. or something.
But then some fucking assholes just had to ruin the 24-hour diner for everyone, and now it's...
Dude, we used to go to them constantly.
It was good food. That's the thing. Like,
food.
sometimes it's just
fun.
like it scratches the itch. Like, you just want shitty, greasy food. But like, they were legitimately...
Used to be able to smoke in all these places.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Call with the wind, as Ryan says.
I remember I went into a real shitty diner. Oh, God, I'm going to say the name. I think it's still there. And they had the jukebox at the table. So me and my buddy are there.
It's like Ruby's Diner, one of those type.
Yeah,
1950s.
It was real old. This place hadn't been updated in forever. And me and my buddy had been drinking all night or whatever, and we were in there in the morning, and we put on something. I was like just dicking around with the jukebox, and it was old. It's broken, so the volume thing was jammed. I couldn't turn it down, only up. So I put on a song. I didn't mean to, and like, we're in there early. It's like all the old people in there, and they're real pissed off, and they're giving us dirty looks and stuff. So before I left, I put on The End by The Doors. It's like 7 minutes long, I think, and I cranked it all the way up, and we left.
That's hilarious.
What a fun guy.
I like how that in this diner there's little TV screens. I don't know if that's a real piece of technology or if that's just something this movie made up.
I think it made it up.
Also in the diner scene, we get a woman I have always had a crush on. I don't know where it started, but
Miss
Claire
Furlani?
Furlani.
Pretty.
She was in one of those Kevin Smith movies, right?
Oh, shit. Was she?
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. I thought she was. Oh, Mallrats she's in, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And she's also in Meet Joe Black. And it was a movie I liked, but I guarantee it doesn't hold up. The Medallion with Jackie Chan.
Okay.
I always confuse that with that one where he ends up, I think it's called The Tuxedo.
Yeah, with Jennifer Love Hewitt? Yeah.
Man, the Americanization of Jackie Chan is such a depressing thing.
Kind of is.
He really made some shitty fucking movies. And we didn't talk about it on this week. We're going to do on our Patreon show, since Kinka Usher there's not much else. You suggested a similar film of the amateur superhero called Super from 2010 or 9?
10 or 11, I think.
Directed by James Gunn, who has found himself suddenly becoming like the gatekeeper of all these superhero movies. And so we're going to get into that. But you watched the movie he did before.
Slither. Yeah, I'd never seen that.
And I shouldn't say watched. I want to say I sat through The Suicide Squad, which he also directed.
Oh, right. Forgetting about that.
Fuck off. So that's on patreon.com/almostcultclassics.
Here are our
We're
thoughts. Yeah.
going to wrap after this. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, the three of them are pretty dejected because they're awful at what they do. And they're like, we need to recruit more people. And I think here's where they mention the Sphinx. There's like, we heard of him, we have to get him. I thought that was going to end up being the Paul Reubens character because, like, Sphincter, I thought there might be some connection there because Paul Reubens' character is called the Spleen, which doesn't really make sense given what he does. Like,
does the spleen have anything to do with it?
I don't know. Did the spleen, is that where farts come from? I don't think so. Because I just thought that when they said the Sphinx, I was like, oh, that's going to be the Paul Reubens character because I remembered.
I ruptured my spleen when I was
Did you
a kid. Yeah, the one and only time I went skiing, I was on a school trip, and we're going to do one more time. Let's go down the mountain one more time. And it was iced over at that point, like the sun was down. So the whole fucking mountain face was just ice, straight ice.
I'm terrified of skiing.
So I would love to go again. I just haven't had the opportunity. I'm not afraid.
Can't get me on that fucking slope.
But so I'm shooting down this icy mountain, and I zipped past a friend of mine. He goes, Ryan! I turned my head and I lost my footing, and I wrapped around a tree.
How pissed off were you at him?
I don't know. I was gasping for air. I thought I was dying.
It sounds like a Looney Tunes thing. Like you just, like,
dude, they had
the outline of you in the tree.
They had to drag me down the mountain on like a stretcher. It was a weird experience. But I was in the hospital for like a month. I think
they dropped the stretcher. You're going down like a.
But it was like bumping the whole time. Ow, ow! Like I'm like, are my ribs broken? They're like, we don't know. But yeah, I still have my spleen. They didn't take it out. They wanted to.
Yeah, so that's they're not responsible for farts thing, because people can live without them.
No, I think you kind of need it. When they were going to take it out.
Any medical doctors listening, let us know where we're getting this from. If the spleen is something that, anyway, when they leave the diner, we see they come across these two guys called the Disco Boys. One is played by Eddie Izzard,
who I love when he gets out of the car. He just kind of. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see me, but he just kind of does this.
Yeah,
like presents himself to no one.
You're
like,
kind of right. Like
I
don't know. I like disco music and the tone it sets. It's just like,
dude, and come on, the disco boom. Dun, 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 dun. It's the greatest intro music.
They're cool looking guys. So they're
Eddie Izzard looks villainous too.
He does.
He's got that face. Perfect. And Praz, who plays his buddy.
That's what I was looking for. Who's the other guy?
Praz.
Okay.
Who was one of the members of the Fugees, who I loved. Dude, everything about this movie, I'm telling you, I loved as a kid. I liked Greg Kinnear, Ben Stiller. Just imagine Ben Stiller's smaller roles. So you got fucking heavyweights. He's hilarious in it.
That is a one of his best roles.
He's so funny in that. Not only that, he's so funny
and
when
he plays his father.
That's the funniest part.
Yeah. Plus, you got Jerry Stiller and Ann Muir as his parent, the camp owners beforehand.
It's great, but just like when you're like that age, you love Adam Sandler movies. Mm-hmm. So Happy Gilmore.
That's another one.
You will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. Dude, and he's got the mustache. Yeah. It is the funniest thing ever. So I love Ben Stiller. Funny enough, I never watched the Ben Stiller show.
I didn't either.
I've never seen it.
I'm sure it's probably good.
It's probably all right.
Yeah.
Think about it. You got him, Garofalo, Andy Dick, who was very funny. I don't care what anyone says. His show was funny. The Andy Dick Show.
I don't remember that.
It was on MTV probably around this time.
Was it a talk show or was it like a
skit show?
Okay.
Yeah, sketch.
I remember one time him and Tom Green like switched places.
I think it was part of that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have Odenkirk.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
the four of them.
I get that and the Dana Carvey show confused. Yeah. They were similar, I guess, conceptually.
But I liked William H. Macy. Mm-hmm. I liked Kel. Hank Azaria of the Simpsons connection. There's a bunch of other people in this movie too. I'm forgetting.
We'll glance over, but yeah,
they popped up. I'm like, oh my god! Like,
Yeah.
this movie hits so many beats for me.
You know what is an under? I could be wrong. It actually might be bad, but the thing that makes it worth revisiting is the Philip Seymour Hoffman performance. Is that Along Came Polly movie? Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh, see, that's when I started hating Ben Stiller. It was after Meet the Parents. He kept playing that like, same.
Yeah.
Well,
Nebbish
maybe.
Kinda,
does she like me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman was very funny in that movie.
He is crushing it in that movie. Like he's on a different level
It's
than everyone
only,
else.
Only reason to watch
and
that
it's
movie.
like you look at it and you're like, why the fuck were you doing this movie? Because he's so good in it. There's that scene where they're in the elevator and it's just, oh, I'm so horny. And it's like they pan out, it's full of people. he
was great.
There's that great scene where he keeps like trying to get the basketball and he's missing every time.
That was awesome.
Man, yeah, because that's like, that would typically be like your Jack Black maybe part, you know, like your goofy best friend, but he is crushing it in that movie. He plays that role so seriously, and it's like that's the reason that movie is worth watching still, in my opinion. But yeah, Ben Stiller, like you said, he kind of started to do more. Those Fockers movie really took him, you know.
It's all
those movies killed De Niro, like not killed, but to Meet the Parents, that was like the first time like people were like, oh, De Niro can be funny, let's just put him in other comedies, and he never hit that.
It's weird when a movie hits, you can almost be assured, here comes the river of shit.
Yep.
Like, oh, did you like that? Here you go. Like, it just never fails.
Here's going to be movies that are exactly like this, and then here's going to be these actors playing the same part in other movies. I
really think the Ben Stiller thing peaked when that Walter Mitty remake bombed.
People seem to like that movie, though.
It's probably all right, but I think everyone was just like, all right, meek Ben Stiller, we're done. And then I think after that, I forget when Tropic Thunder came out.
That was 08. I think Mitty's after that.
Is it?
Yeah.
I wish he would.
That's another thing. He's a good director.
I like. Yeah. I agree. I didn't love Tropic Thunder. I should revisit that. I thought a lot of it was on the nose when I saw it. But do that again. Where is he?
People always like, oh, we always talk about it because it's just fucking nonsense anymore. People are like, oh, you couldn't make Tropic Thunder today. You could. Just make it. Stop talking about it and do it. Like
everyone, like this is the
mother of God.
This is the thing I don't understand. Everyone goes, we like that, but don't.
Yeah.
So what?
And then you get these articles where like they completely like distort the headlines about like what you can, and it's just like, it's really not that. Like Tropic Thunder is not that controversial. Like you've got the whole, you know, it's an Academy Award nominated performance, Robert Downey Jr. in that movie. So like, it's not.
I don't even understand how it's offensive.
I don't either.
The joke's on him.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's this asshole that, and I think everyone. I don't know anyone.
No one's offended by that.
That's what I mean.
There's not a person.
It's that they think that people are offended by it, and no one is.
Here's the thing. This is the big problem.
Jesus,
we are being held hostage artistically.
By nothing.
By an enormously small minority of completely uncreative fucking journalists, essentially.
Yeah, I agree.
Who don't do anything. But bitch.
Yeah.
Stop listening to journalists, people.
Yeah.
If they are talking, they are lying.
Yeah.
Or they're just...
Well, they want to manipulate headlines to get clicks, and it's all horseshit.
I mean, you gotta... this is the one thing, man. I don't watch TV. Like, my life has been so much better. So I have the internet, so I'm still in the mire, the muck. But my God, I can't. I feel like I put on the TV recently, and I was like stunned. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What happened?" But we have to reject this uncreative,
I agree,
bitter, jealous minority of people.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And just start making shit.
Just
again.
make it. Fuck them. And if you know what, if someone says I don't like that, so then fuck you.
Yeah.
It's just
care.
You have a middle finger,
and
you have a mouth that can say no. Do
It's
it.
a really good point, though. Like, I don't know anyone that's complaining about Tropic Thunder.
No one
is. They just expect that. I don't know. I don't want to get into it too much. But anyway, the Disco Boys.
Loved them.
They're...
Oh, I have to mention this, though, because I love the Fugees.
Mm-hmm.
They were a huge band. Praz is probably the least whatever. He might be in jail right now.
Seriously?
Dude, for the most like, it's all... Like, he was funneling, like, crazy funny money from Malaysia into Obama's campaign and shit. Dude, it's all campaign finance violations. It's so funny.
So I guess the Disco Boys are associated with Casanova because they find it suspicious that these guys are back in town. So Captain or Mr. Furious goes and follows them on his motorcycle. That's kind of I also like, there's a recurring gag where he wants so badly to hit that superhero one-liner and he fucks it up constantly. That's a funny running joke.
It's okay.
There's a lot of like Ben Stiller, almost like I want to say Ben Stiller isms, where it's like
A lot of Stillerisms.
you're the lazy boy and you know, it's like
I got a low tolerance for that at a certain point. I lived it already.
it's that meet the parent, like, it's just the nipples and you just a little. It's that.
That was the peak.
It's like,
it should have stopped there.
Oh God! Apparently, they offered him to direct this movie, and he shot down. And apparently, he tried to get the fuck out of this thing like midway through production.
Well, I think I read Garofalo was just like, "Come on, come do it with me."
Yeah, well, because you look at the cast, like William H. Macy, like you were saying, at this time, maybe not everyone was like hit the career accolades they have that they have now, but it was still big people.
He was that guy at this
Macy?
point. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
He was absolutely.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, Hank Azaria is like, dude, I gotta find it. Hank Azaria did this. I want to say it was a sketch comedy show where he played all these different characters. Do you have any knowledge of this? And one of them, I don't think it was in blackface. I really don't. But he was essentially playing Miss Cleo.
Man, this is ringing a bell.
Can someone correct? Like, I have images in my mind of him being like, it was like on an Access Hollywood show. They like, and behind the scenes on Hank Azaria's new show, and it was him as like Miss Cleo. He was like, "Call me now, Dad." He was doing like a I didn't dream this. That did exist. It must have aired very briefly and got canceled.
Probably.
But listeners, please, someone help me find that. I want to make sure I'm not losing my mind. I remember this because he was real. That's another thing too in Hank Azaria. Much like Tony Shalhoub, it was like, you're going to play all the ethnic parts despite the fact that you're not. Like, it was just...
Birdcage, you know.
He always played, like... And, like, now he's going on the... Like, what do you call the apology tour or something?
The Hank Azaria Tears and Apology Tour. I'm so sorry for being good at doing a voice. And for making a character respectable. Like, it's...
Do you know he got cast as Moe originally in the Three Stooges, the Farrelly Brothers movie?
I could see that.
He got cast and then wanted way too much money because he's got that Simpsons. I think he makes like what, 600,000 an episode.
Idiotic money.
Does he even? People like that.
That was good. Your old Homer was killing me. Marge, I think we need to go.
Does Lisa's voice actress get that much money?
Isn't that funny?
Does she really?
I have to imagine they all get the same.
She's got to be laughing.
Yeardley Smith is no one's ever had a better deal.
No. And you know what the funny thing is?
She
Like,
doesn't even do a voice.
No. Have you ever seen like the other animated movies she's done? It's like there's that fucking movie with the dinosaurs. You ever see that?
The Land Before Time?
No, the one where they're like walking around the city. We're Back, maybe it's called.
Okay, I know.
She plays like the kid. This I think might be pre-Simpsons or maybe during it. It's just it's there's no nuance to it. There's no change.
It's a very distinctive voice.
I get that, but she has she ever voiced another character on that show?
I'll say maybe.
Maybe like, you know, that's not like a version of herself.
I used to get those episode guide Simpsons books.
Yeah.
I loved them, and they had one page. It was like a spread for the 2 pages. All the characters, you know, Castellaneta did, and Azaria and Shearer and Kavner.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure
just her.
It was just Lisa.
I still remember the end credits of the movie. They do it's like that punk rock dun 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 dun, and it shows actor's name, boom, 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 all tiles of who they voiced, and it's going through them all, and then it just gets to her. It's just whoop, just the one and done. But
they can't. I wouldn't care. Would you care?
What?
So I'm like, why is she getting paid as much as me?
Fuck that.
I care less.
And in about 7 years, they're either going to be AI replicated or they're going to recast those people.
You know what I was thinking about? Because the Oscars are coming up, would be, and all this bullshit, like, oh, this person deserves blah, 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 whatever. I was thinking about, because me and you, we'll touch on it in the future. We're working on something, but I was like, I've been thinking of it more and more. I'm like, I don't even need my name on something I make. Do you know what the biggest, or an Oscar or an award, or who gives a shit?
Kinka Usher.
The biggest honor you can get, in my opinion, is to get your movie in the Library of Congress. Like Clerks is in there.
Yeah.
That's will be preserved for as long as the Library of Congress exists. Yeah. Like, that's the highest honor. You have made something so culturally significant.
Like Annie Hall and W.C. Fields and all these great movies.
Something to be preserved.
A representation of American culture. You
don't need an award, dude. But, you know, I digress.
That's what we're kind of doing. We're preserving these movies.
We're certainly archivists. Yeah.
But, yeah, they see the Disco Boys.
We're not a review show.
No.
We're not reviewing. I mean, it's fine if you are, or if you want to listen to them. Or...
I'd like to think even if we shit on something, we at least provide a ways it could have been better.
Yeah.
You know, we're not just going, oh, it sucks. It's like, I like to try to, even the videos I do on Hats Off, I like to provide ways where it could have been better.
I just don't really consider us a review show. I guess we kind of are, but I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm going to be my attitude towards this is very similar to Wild Wild West. This is an almost cult classic. We hit 2 right here.
I like this more.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one is, because Wild Wild West is like bombastic and it just gets insane as it goes on. And there's like, we talked about, there's a couple of like movie ruining scenes towards the end of that movie.
Plus, it's very tentpole.
This one,
giant budget. This one is scrappy, and it plays to the story better.
It's like you shut your brain off. I hate that when people say, "Oh, just shut your brain off and have fun." It's like, but it really is like when you look at this movie, it's like it's just silly. It's pure silly. I mean, one of the characters, his whole thing is he just farts. Like you really do have to kind of take a step back and just enjoy it for what it is. But they see these Disco Boys characters, so Furious goes after them. This is where we see the home life of the shoveler, Eddie, and the Blue Blue Raja, Geoffrey. That's another thing, Geoffrey, his name is. And there's a great, really cool shot of... Well, he runs over like a dinosaur, a Barney type thing in the driveway. And then you just see like... It's like a bungalow, one of those like really like 1950s looking rancher houses.
Kitschy, pink.
And like then you see the animated Champion City behind it. It's just such a cool shot.
I almost screenshot that. I was like, wow, that's really good.
Man, it's little stuff like that in this movie that really, that's where I'm like, it pushes...
I'm like liking it more as we talk about it.
It pushes me into recommend for it. But yeah, we see their home lives. He's the shoveler's got a wife who's just like, she's so fed up. I think he says 12 years he's been doing this. And she, like, he's borrowed his son's, like,
catcher's vest.
And she's just like, you got it. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not... Because they're not successful. That's the funny part. They're not successful. And then we see Geoffrey at home where he's just got, like, you know, he's got the pillows and it's draped to look like a very Indian, incense is burning. And it's a tired, played out trope, but of the mother and then the quick into...
Mom!
Yeah. And master of the voice, man, the way he can quickly jump in and out of that, because it's so funny. Like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, I told you, you're breaking so many rules right now. Because she just, it's just funny. And him and the mom character get that nice moment later on where she does finally learn what he does.
It's really, I was like, wow, that actually hit.
It's a good.
It was earned. The movie earned that moment. It's funny too, man, because I was reading Hank Azaria and he was just like, when I was a kid, I was always doing these voices, and I just thought everyone can do it. I felt the same way as a kid. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, just people can do that. Yeah. So you do it.
Yeah.
And then people go, wow, you're really good at that. And you're like, you're not? Like, it was weird because I've always been a fairly good mimic.
Oh, sure. You're good at original stuff too. Like, you know, original characters and stuff. And that's where...
You want to do this voice? Hold on a second. This is my... All right.
Joe, come on now, Joe. We're gonna talk about Mr. Man right now. We're going to do that real good for you.
You sound like... how I would imagine Kel Mitchell's dad's character to sound.
Yeah,
he doesn't speak at all. He just sits there. It's great.
Yeah.
So that's where they end up deciding that they...
Can I touch on something real quick?
Yeah.
With the wife, the black wife.
Yeah.
This is 99. Mm-hmm. This is how you do diversity in a movie, people.
I agree.
You just throw everyone together and you don't fucking mention it. Think about it. Everyone's in this movie. Every kind of everything.
Yeah.
And they're just there.
You know who did that too? And I think that show kind of got away from what it was trying to be originally. He got too into his own head, but Louis had the black wife.
Which is weird because his wife
and the kids were white.
Yeah, his wife was in real life was not black.
He was kind of, I think, looking for a pat on the back for that.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And he would just say, like, you know, it was just she read the part good, and I just liked the way she did it, and
which is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, just that's what I mean. This like constant need to like bring it up. There
was that one great joke on Louis where the kids, it's Halloween, and his oldest daughter, she's still young, probably 9 or 10.
Yeah.
She had learned about Frederick Douglass in school and really wanted to be Frederick Douglass for Halloween. So she's got like blackface on and like the Frederick Douglass hair. Like,
there's a few episodes of that show that are great.
There's one moment I think is amazing. It's like a short segment. He's on the subway and he's sitting across, from the bench on the other side of him. And there's this brown liquid rocking.
Oh yeah, on the chair
in the subway. And he looks at it and he's like just kind of pondering it. And then all of a sudden, it's filmed color, normal. It cuts to this almost like French New Wave black and white.
Yeah.
And he takes his sweater off and sops it all up.
Yeah.
And everyone in the subway's like, yeah, they're all like... And then this blonde woman comes over and gives him a blowjob. And everyone's just like, good job, Lo. And then, obviously it cuts back out of his fantasy. It is so perfectly done. That might be my favorite moment in that show. I didn't watch the whole thing.
I didn't either.
Some of it's not great.
Oh yeah, some of it's like he's way too into his own head. There's I still remember the gag. If you've ever lived in the city, it's so apt where he's sleeping in his bedroom and the trash truck is outside. And, like, it's just getting louder and louder. And all of a sudden, they're in his bedroom. The trash men, they're throwing shit around. They're banging the cans. It's like, if you've ever lived
it is
near
like
a trash truck, that's exactly, it just gets louder and louder until it sounds like they're in your house.
It's very true.
But, yeah, it's...
But the race thing, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, I remember 99. I was young.
Yeah, man.
Dude, nobody cared.
No.
We were, I don't know what the fuck happened.
No.
It's like everyone was like, hey, let's go back. And let's do that again.
If this movie came out today, everyone would be like, we should be applauding this brave and courageous move.
Or you'd have Kel talk about, like,
I don't throw Kel under the bus.
No,
we don't
no,
know
but
what he'd
you'd
be
have
saying. You would have the character.
Like, what, you can't have a black guy in a group or some bullshit. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. This was the promise of the new millennium. This cast, this movie. We blew it.
They decide they need to beef up their team a little bit, and the first person they go to meet is the Invisible Boy, played by Kel Mitchell, who we just talked about, because in one of our movie catch-ups, I talked about watching Good Burger 2, which made me realize just how funny Kel Mitchell is.
Kel's good.
And I still think that, in some ways, he's more talented than Keenan. And this movie kind of shows it. He just, like, this, like, stoner but not really stoner thing that he's always kind of done, always has worked for me. But here he's, like, sincere. And I gotta give props to the set designer here, who is, because I had to look it up, because all these I love how all these sets feel completely unique to the characters and to their personalities. But it is Kirk Petroselli, and he has just he's done a lot of these, like, so here's some of his work he's done: Anaconda, Blade, Mystery Men, The Patriot. Both Lara Croft movies, The Last Castle, Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four. So he's done, like, these, like, back when we were doing more just, like, adult, I think, like, superhero type movies, he did a lot of those. I'm a big fan of that stuff, like the Spawns. Like, that's one we should probably come back to.
Yeah, we really
point.
should. So I'm a big Michael J. White fan.
It's just, and Todd McFarlane, there's something wrong with that guy. Do you remember that show, the animated show that he would intro?
Was it Spawn?
It was Spawn. I think it was on HBO. It was like one of their first ever animated shows, and he would intro the episodes. He's terrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was he?
He would just be like,
he was big.
What would you do? Your wife leaves you, you die. It was just like, it was like he was trying to do like a Rod Serling type, like, and it was awful. He's always been, like, really about asserting himself. I just saw on Twitter the other day, someone, like, there's, like, a box set action figure coming out for the Spawn anniversary. He's included an action figure of himself in with it. And he's given himself, like, interchangeable hands and feet. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
He's done stuff besides Spawn, right?
I don't know. I guess he's had to. The action figures
not
are
get into that.
But he's been touting that reboot's coming for 20 years now. He's been going on about. So anyway, really, I like they show up at the Invisible Boy's house, and he has that great line like, "Hey, Dad, I'm going up to my room with 3 strange men."
Yeah,
and the dad just doesn't even move. Yeah, and his bedroom is so cool looking. With every surface is covered with comic books and pages, and he reveals that his superpower is he can turn himself invisible, but no one can watch. It's like so out of it's ludicrous.
It's
but
stupid.
It works
Absolutely.
and they're like, well, how do you know you're invisible? He's like, I can feel it. And they're like, he's got that moment where, like, there's a few moments in this movie where the characters get, like, the impassioned speech with the inspirational music under it, and this one I almost thought was going to be a joke because it's framed in such a way where you're like, there has to be a joke here, like, what? Because he's like, come on, have you ever remember what it's like to be a little kid who dreamed or something like that? And then it just cuts to them at the diner where they're all together now, and they're talking about the Sphinx, and this is where the spleen comes in, which this is another thing I have to give credit to the people in charge of this movie. No one was casting Paul Reubens in anything at this point beyond maybe some voiceover work.
You gotta be, I think you're right.
I think that's less to do with the whole controversy he did nothing wrong, in my opinion. And
well,
maybe not nothing.
He shouldn't have ruined his career.
Blown out of proportion. But I think
you're jerking off in public. I mean,
okay. I'm sorry. even in adult movie theater, maybe that wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Funny enough, I was reading something about that. I was like, he was a little set up. I can't remember. It's not.
There
important.
was a sting. Yeah, it was something
not
weird.
important.
Anyway, he more so because, like, Pee Wee Herman, I think, talk about typecast. And I also will touch on this when we on Patreon with Super and Rainn Wilson. That casting choice does not work for me. I have to give James Gunn credit for at least trying to make Rainn Wilson something other than Dwight, you know? Because I think he is a talented comedic actor. I just think
very
he fucking... you know what's funny? I was watching... What the fuck was it that Wayne Knight popped up in? I forget. It might have been... Not JFK.
Basic Instinct.
It wasn't Basic Instinct. I know he's in that too. But it was something else like that. And then he got known as Newman, and that was it. I mean, Jurassic Park, JFK, Basic Instinct. He was bigger than the fucking 4 leads of Seinfeld. He really was. Like, he was getting really big work, and then he did Newman. That was it. I mean, I'm sure it made him...
He kept working after that.
I know,
though.
but come on, dude. No one was casting him in stuff anymore because of that.
They want Newman.
And with this, I have to give them credit for... And that's probably why he's hidden and disguised in such a way that's
I think so.
Because it's almost like... I thought, like, the pimples were... And the rotted teeth were, like, a tad too, like... heavy in terms of what they were trying to convey with this character.
My problem with the spleen, and I do remember hating him, which I didn't so much this time around. I'll say it's
the voice.
It's the voice.
Yeah.
And it's the Little Nicky effect, I call it. A movie I can't watch.
Little Nicky.
I remember hating that movie because of the voice the whole time.
What does he sound like?
I don't even remember. It was just like, well, it's annoying Adam Sandler. And he's got the costume
haircut
is horrible, the haircut. He's making the face the whole movie.
I don't remember fucking anything about that other than that thing that grows tits on its head.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah. Tarantino's in that.
Really? I know Rodney's in it too.
He plays like a blind street preacher.
Is Keitel the devil?
Keitel's the devil.
I might revisit that.
Tell me how it is.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
I remember that was like, I was like, oh, this movie sucks. Like, you know, I was still in that every movie's good age, but yeah, well, the voice is a little tough.
That's a little bit grating.
It didn't bother me the whole movie.
I also like how he's one of the only ones that has a legitimate superpower.
He does have a power. I like how the first display of it's pretty good too.
Yeah. By the way, there's a callback. It has to be to one of my favorite movies, which is Pee-wee's Big Adventure, when he goes to sit in the booth with them because he comes in this diner and they're like, "Oh God, the spleen's here," and he like again really cool shot. The platform shoes coming in the pan up, and when he comes in the booth, excuse me, that's from Pee-wee with the biker bar. I'll just be going, excuse me, and he just I love that gag, and his whole power is. I also love the backstory, how he blamed a fart on the gypsy woman and she cursed him.
It all started when I was just 13 years of age. One day, while walking with some friends, I accidentally cut the cheese. Well, in my adolescent awkwardness, I blamed it on an old gypsy woman who happened to be passing by. Big mistake!
It's a little bit silly that you have to pull the finger to like trigger it.
Yeah, but whatever.
But I love that he drops these clothespins on the table and like Hank Azaria puts one on and cool shot where it's like, you know, it's like a poison dart's being fired and everyone at the diner counter falls over as he does it. It's like, you guys I'm sorry, but like when you look at all these guys together, he's the one that has the most power, so let him join up. Why you guys aren't? And so now we have 4 of them. And they still say we need more. So they're like, let's have some tryouts. And they're like, well, the shoveler, he has a pool. So we'll have it there. Get that fun moment where like the wife being like, if anyone throws up in my pool, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like if you know anything about this movie, if you've seen anything, this is the scene that like this movie was marketed around. This just seemed like,
because
it might
it was
have even
like
been how this movie came to be.
A world of crazy characters, for sure.
This scene's got to be broken down.
Yeah.
Because this is fucking absolutely insane. And at the time, I probably didn't realize it.
It's wild.
Holy shit.
There's a lot of people in it.
So
some that don't even get mentioned.
No, there's one who's someone I probably know you hate.
You'd probably be wrong. Oh, Dane?
Yeah.
I don't like Dane Cook.
No, not Dane. Dana.
Oh, Dana Gould?
Yeah.
So
by the way, according to the commentary, he came up with that PMS joke, which is one of the worst jokes in the movie.
I think it's okay.
Oh, dude, that joke stinks.
I only fight crime 4 days a month.
Oh, that stinks.
It's all right.
Oh, it stinks.
I don't know. It's fine.
He said they were waiting in line to shoot that day, and Dana came up with that. And then Kinka presents this as if it's like a feat to be proud of. I'm like, no, it sucks. It's just like...
I think it's a pretty good joke.
Fuck off. It's not. It's not, dude. This is some of the worst shit in the movie. This scene, the Waffler thing, like that's...
It cannot be overstated.
How the fuck did Dane Cook get as popular as he was?
Well, one, he was a good comic.
I'm not arguing that. But like, how can anyone look at this scene...
MySpace.
Seriously, that
I
was
am dead serious. That's what he was such a good marketer
preteen girls
of
and
himself on MySpace.
Jesus Christ,
he got so big off of that, and like he was the success story of MySpace. Period. He was the biggest winner of that. He built his career off of that. Word of mouth, showing little clips.
Dude, talk about just like a 15 minutes peak of fame. It was almost like a Tom Greenish. It was a bit longer than 15 minutes. Maybe he had 30 minutes of fame.
He
Dane
fucked
Cook.
up because they started.
Anytime a comedian gets into doing like those giant fucking arena specials, it just
You're
loses.
in trouble.
It loses any intimacy. It just becomes like the laughter is just like anything they do is.
His act lent itself to it, though. It was a very bombastic act. It was very. He was a very animated guy.
I agree.
And but it's the second you start doing like rote comedies, like Employee of the Month or whatever, it's like you're fucked.
Yeah,
you're asking for it.
Good luck, Chuck.
Is that the one with Jessica Alba? Might be the hottest
That's
woman
the one,
of all time.
And that's like one of those movies where
she's like a billionaire now.
Almost shows nudity. You know, with her, you get that side boob stuff. That's like. I guess that's what he just did terrible movies, right?
Pretty much.
Do you remember that?
Well, you know what else too? It's he started to do the movies, and he's playing a character that's not Dane Cook. It's almost that.
Is he though? I remember in all those movies, he seems to be playing himself almost, like on this sarcastic,
very
like,
watered down version.
It's like kind of like Chevy Chase on Speed. It's like he's an asshole. He's kind of confident and wisecracks.
I haven't watched the movies,
I know,
but I can guarantee you he's playing a watered down version
of that. Yeah.
Because the Dane Cook on stage is confident and like not worried about anything. You start putting him in movies where he's like, I'm nervous about becoming Employee of the Month.
You're really tired of the nervous.
I hate it.
The guy
I do not. I don't want to be around weak men. I don't want to know about. I can't. They're not compelling to me. It's not compelling. I am not interested.
I think Tarantino said that in. It might have been the Buster Keaton documentary. He's like, the thing I like about Buster Keaton is that he didn't play weak men. He wasn't like Bob Hope, and he didn't. You know
what's funny? The more we do this show, the more respect I have for Tarantino as a film an analyzer. I don't know. I don't have a term there.
You were saying let's get Paul Schrader on the show. Fuck it. The dream for me would be Tarantino.
Wewould be fun, but I'd love to get Schrader.
Yeah.
We're never getting anyone.
Maybe he even listen. He might listen secretly.
Dude, just get me a role with that
Did
fucking
you see
movie.
Cinema Speculation 2? He's writing it.
Oh, I heard about it. Yeah, I did hear about that.
Mm-hmm. He's doing the same thing. We'll be covering
do it again.
Yeah.
What the hell? Why not?
Send us a free copy. How many comments did we get from that episode? I'm going to sound like Howard Stern and be like, we invented the... Robin, we put that book on the map, Robin. No one was talking about it. the Cinema Speculation, Robin.
I'll be honest, I doubt anyone did a long...
But people in the comments were like, I didn't even know this was out.
Oh.
He didn't like... I don't think he did like the talk show thing with it. He just kind of put it out there. The cover wasn't like... Because anytime a celebrity writes a book, you want their face with the soft lighting and the real, or like this is my life's crazy look. It was just Steve McQueen and Peckinpah on the cover. I love it.
Yeah, it's not the greatest cover, but yeah, I don't know. His takes on things I kind of agree with. I mean, look at fucking Joel Cohen.
I wanted to go see it. You didn't want to go.
No, I might catch it if it leaks online. It's how I watch movies anymore. They couldn't even. It's barely 90 minutes.
Yeah. My dad went to see it.
Yeah.
My dad.
What do you think?
I sent you the text. He just said he enjoyed it, but he's like, it was like there were too many psychedelic like dream sequences or something. He said, yeah. My dad, who went to the movies, he went to the movies more the past like 6 months than he has in the past 10 years. One was to see The Holdovers, and the other was to see the Drive Away Dolls because he loves the Coens.
They're great.
I still remember him dragging me to Hail Caesar, and we watched the people walk out. Like, people were running out of the theater. That was the first time I ever seen that. Because they marketed that movie. It looked like it was going to be like a Private Eye type Hollywood noir, and it was just like this. I have to revisit that movie because I remember.
Where do they get up? Like where do you go? I've had enough.
Have you ever done it?
I have never walked out of a movie. I don't think I've wanted to a couple times.
I have.
Yeah.
Identity Thief. With McCarthy and
I could see walking out of that one.
Right. I
Did you ask for a refund or you just leave?
They gave us passes to come back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because for them, they're going to make money on the concessions. They figure it doesn't. Really...
I was thrown out of Snakes on a Plane.
We've told this story on the show before.
I did not leave voluntarily.
That's true.
And I put up a fight.
That's fucking hilarious.
It was a good time.
I have to watch that. I still haven't seen it.
Never seen it. I saw the first 10 seconds of it, and then I was ejected from the theater.
So, they hold these tryouts, and we could say we get Dane Cook as the Waffler. We also get Doug Jones as, I think he's called the Pencil Head.
Yeah.
Although, despite the fact that there's an eraser on top of his head, we'll just quick glance through that. And he's got like a sidekick. Yeah, Dana Gould plays like the squeegee guy.
I remember Dana Gould complaining, I guess you could say that, because he was like, people would always like be like, dude, you ruined The Simpsons. Because he was a writer.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was just a punch-up guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't even really write scripts. He's like, I'm getting all this shit for it. But yeah, there is a reason I don't like him.
Jokes were like the PMS jokes. I'm sure he really contributed much.
It's funny though, man. There's a lot of people, like there's a lot of people might not know Jack Plotnick. If you ever seen any of Quentin Dupuy's movies, he's in Wrong. He plays the lead in that. And I gotta try to dig this out. Jack Plotnick, what else would people know him from? I don't know. He made a movie, or he's in a movie called Girls Will Be Girls. I think that's what it's called. Dude, I saw it like 20 years ago. It was one of the funniest things I have ever seen. It's him and two other characters, and they're both in drag. And he's playing like this washed up like actress who was in like almost like
Tu Wong Fu. What is this?
No. It is a if I were to go back to see it, I'm pretty sure it's probably insanely offensive. That's why it's so funny.
Yeah.
But it's almost like he plays this actress who was like in like disaster movies in the 70s. Her career's totally like dried up, but she's got these two younger actresses she's kind of floating around with. And like I said, it's all men playing these roles. Yeah. I remember it being the funniest thing ever.
Remember this movie that
Girls Will Be Girls. If anyone,
I have to look that up.
I mean, I thought it was. I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this.
Remember that movie that the My Big Fat Greek Wedding woman did, where like she plays like a woman, her and some woman, they're like on the run from the law and they hide out as drag queens. Like they're playing.
I know what you're talking about.
She really fucking shit the bed with that. She had talk about one in, she was the toast of Tinseltown after that fucking.
How do you not like get something going?
I know. She really dropped the ball. I don't mean to fucking shit on her. She seems like a talented writer, but
some people just have one thing.
It's like, fuck.
I don't know.
And she's still there. The new one of those just came out.
The third one,
yeah. Jesus. Anyway, so this is where we get Janeane Garofalo playing the bowler, daughter of Carmine the bowler.
A little overpowered.
What do you mean?
I mean,
her power?
Does anyone... She could just... Well, here's the other thing, too. I didn't realize before we started. Why do they even need to do anything? Just let the ball do everything.
All the work. Yeah. Well, also, like, if your goal is to take on Casanova, take all of these people. Like, the more the merrier. Why are you, like, being exclusive to your little, whatever?
I'll give you that because they want their crew. They want the glory.
I get it.
So,
And I do kind of like the idea that the Ben Stiller character is always like against it. He's just annoyed. It kind of starts to get grating as the movie goes on, but at this point, he's just like, he doesn't want to be associated with these goofballs. He kind of just wants to be his own. You can tell he's like wants to be his own person, and
that's what's annoying. That's what doesn't add up. It's just like, dude, you're a loser. You got to acknowledge it at some point.
Yeah.
And he basically doesn't at all. He does at the end, but at that point, it's like, all right, dude, like.
Well, so his character works at a junkyard. And there is a character action in the scene that Kinka says came from the commercials he did. It's a woman with a beard. She's got like stubble on her chin. She is grotesque. She's got to be gone. There's no way this woman's alive anymore. But she's her.
Junket.
Oh my, junket, and just like it's almost like Anne Ramsey and Throw Mama from the Train. She has that gruff, like you're disgusting kind of the way you contort your face. You look.
Okay, I thought we went through this yesterday. That old Jeep is actually an armored car of some type. It was meant to withstand bombs. I can't just rip it apart with a crowbar.
That's junket.
Well, maybe if you gave me the proper tools, I could...
Junket!
That's kind of funny to me that he's like... Even her, he can't muster up the rage around. He's just weak around her. He grabs the stress ball and he's like... And, they end up... She displays, and again, early 90s or late 90s CGI, it kind of works, the stuff with the ball. It's shot in a way where it's
I think it's fine.
When the camera's moving in a way that the object is supposed to be, I like that.
Yeah.
And it blends in with the practical environment.
Absolutely.
The ball looks cool with the skull.
Uh-huh.
It's just, I like you said, though, she's like, I guess she actually has powers. Like, she's the only one.
Well, the ball has powers.
He can fart, but like this is, the gypsy curse. Like her, it's just like what is like? Is it just the spirit of her father controls this thing?
Yeah.
And I kind of It's maybe I agree. What you're saying the not discussing it all is kind of refreshing. You know?
Oh, yeah, I don't need it.
Because for me, the most boring part of these superhero movies is the origin story.
Well, Patreon's going to be interesting. I was stunned.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I brought it up before. I think it's the philosopher Schopenhauer, Arthur. He talked about how it's like you read too many bad books, you're fucking yourself up.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, I had a stretch of bad movies there where I was just like, I was angry.
It disheartens you.
Yeah. I was like, so angry.
So
I'm Mr. Furious.
They all end up in this. I don't know if that's a real station wagon or if that's an invention of this movie. The vehicle they travel around in.
All the cars are cool.
Yeah.
Dude, this movie's good. I'm like really, I'm high on it. I like it.
I think the scene when they see Casanova's limo and they follow him, this ends up being, I think, the best scene in the movie because they all have things to do.
That's the other thing too. I liked what they had to each do.
Yeah, and in the end,
everyone has their part.
I almost this movie's got problems. In the end, which we'll get to it, but when in that last big scene where they're all fighting him and they all each have scenes to use their power, I want to be like, can more people do this now? Like, this is how you do it. Because what I'm going to fucking talk about on Patreon is a movie much like this. Ensemble, kooky people all working together.
I almost watched it. I was like, wow, maybe this is good.
You know what watching that movie did? My tease for Patreon, I'll get into it. James Gunn should direct a Mystery Men movie. His sensibility is way more attuned to small scale, not huge, epic, awful, quirky characters that we'll get to it. But that's what I'm saying.
Hey guys, $5 a month, very cheap.
This movie, there's more lore here. I can't wait. Because this superhero fatigue, it ain't gone away.
No, it's not going to stop.
They're going to keep trying to stay on top of it. I think we're done. The time has passed.
Do you know what I was thinking about? So they took a niche thing, comic books, kind of niche, right? It wasn't super broad appeal. Comic book movies were laughed at and disregarded. They turned it into mainstream, and by dint of flooding the market, they've made it niche again almost.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is going to watch these Marvel shows?
Yeah,
the normal person's not.
Yeah.
You have to watch this show to understand the Marvels. A niche audiences. So they've now made it niche again. It's so weird.
When I was just reading, the Dark Horse stuff, it's like there's so many little weird, strange little comic books out there that we could be doing stuff with, and this is one where I like I like goofy characters coming together.
Are you a comic book guy?
Not really.
You know what? I'm not really either. There's a really good book I'd recommend. It's called The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. I think that's how you say his name. Chabon. Anyway, it's really, really good. It's about the golden age of comics and these two cousins that are kind of they create this, The Escapist.
Okay.
I'm
into it.
Oh, dude,
I'll check it out.
It is a very, very good book.
Okay.
I think it won the Pulitzer. I don't know. Dude,
I gotta check it out.
If you're even halfway interested in comics, you gotta read Cavalier and Clay. It is really, really good.
Well, again, this scene, it's great. They stop the limo.
Oh, but I do agree with you. By the way.
What?
There's
there's so many things more interesting. Even stuff that I know they will eventually do a Blade thing or a Ghost Rider thing. I just like the more adult kind of yeah, it's probably.
I'm tired of the grim dark superhero. Like that new Batman. I watched the first 15 minutes. I turned it off.
I don't like that movie.
I was like, you know what, dude? Go mope away, Batman.
So, this scene, I'm trying to think whatever all happens. I know when Captain or Mr. Furious climbs on the roof and just starts screaming, not really doing anything.
Nothing.
I love how Blue Raja throws the fork so it stops the doors from opening. It does all. It comes together in a really fun way.
It's one of those things where it's like, this is a weird one. You ever see Foot Fist Way?
Yeah.
Remember how the whole movie he's like, I'm the king of the demo. I'm the king of the demo.
And he sucks.
And no, you think he sucks.
Yeah.
And then at the end he puts on a demo.
And he's
the king of the demo. It's kind of like that. They can be effective. They just are never really given the opportunity, or they're not in the right place, or it's wrong time, or...
I was thinking about that with, of all things, the British Office, where here's the difference between the American... It's David Brent is shown to actually be a talented musician. It would be too easy to make him a fucking hack. Whereas Michael Scott is just hacking every way.
Well, he actually is a master salesman.
He is.
There's that one episode where he's like, Tim Meadows, I think, is in it.
Yeah.
And they're in like the Applebee's or whatever, and he's with Jan.
Yeah, he crushes the deal.
Yeah.
The Chili's.
That was a great episode.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, he's not a complete fucking fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, but
that show had its moments.
It did. And that's where it's interesting to see that, where it's so easy to just make the characters like buffoons in every way.
Right.
But giving them those redemptive arcs where you can see
or
like
some skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, you're so right.
And this is a really funny shot, man, of the spleen's ash just coming in this limo window. Pull the finger, and every time he farts,
the tails go up.
The tails go up, and it's just right in Casanova's face. And Geoffrey Rush is and then the windows come up. It's really funny. I love how the Blue Raja takes a fork and scrapes the car, and they all just get in there, drive away as they fire. It's just. It shows too. It's like even they don't know how to.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. That's to them as a win. The fact that they just fucked up the car because they go out and celebrate at a Chinese restaurant and have drinks. Which is another thing about the way this movie looks. They're all drinking like your standard Mai Tai looking cocktails, but they're all like green. It's just like someone's drinking a martini and it's like Mountain Dew colored. Interesting just to show that this world is different from our own.
This movie had a good focus on detail.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be a plus.
Yeah. So they do that after they leave this, I think it's called like Hop Louie's they're at. The Disco Boys are on the parking lot and they all have their guns. And from the shadows, we see something fly out, kind of almost like the Shadow.
What did he do there?
I don't know. He threw something at the guns.
The Shoveler mentions it earlier.
This character is so underdeveloped, and it's because it's been cut down.
Because he's like, the Shoveler's like, he can pull guns apart with his mind. And then that happens. Did he actually use his mind?
I guess, maybe. I don't know.
He doesn't do anything else in the movie.
And again, this deleted scene earlier sets up that he was at least aware of and kind of following them around.
We're talking about the Sphinx, obviously. If we
the Sphinx, yeah. Who's played by Wes Studi.
I got to say this, too. Wes, I'm going to say Studi.
Studi?
Yeah.
All right.
It's probably Studi.
Well,
probably
that way
right.
people can blame one of us.
There you go.
Gets it right.
Fine actor. Nothing, he's a very good actor. A year or two ago, they gave him an honorary Oscar for literally like, you're Indian, Native American. They're like, good job. Like,
yeah.
Come on, dude. I'm not saying he doesn't.
See who got it this year? Your dear friend.
Wait, are they just inventing these things and giving them out?
I think Mel already has one or something. I don't know.
They're giving Mel one?
Mel got one this year, yeah.
Dude, he's a legend in the industry.
Yeah.
Look, I have said this a million times. I respect Mel Brooks. I am not a huge fan of the works of Mel Brooks, but you cannot not respect the guy.
Yeah.
Wes Studi.
He gave us The Elephant Man.
Yeah. Fine actor.
Yeah. Maybe not the person. Yeah. Is it just because there's just no one else there doing it?
There's no one else. And I'm like, that's a little like.
That's why I think.
If I was him, I'd be like, thanks, but no thanks. But hey, just take it.
Do the George C. Scott approach.
Yeah, so, I really respect that approach.
But he's got kind of this camp, I guess you would call it, where he trains them to nothing. That's the other funny part.
Well,
they're not doing it. Like it cuts to the shoveler and the spleen. They're like, he's got like a catcher's mask on. They're fighting. He's making Mr. Furious balance a hammer while wearing a watermelon on his feet. Like even that, it's like, what do you?
I don't remember telling you to do that.
Yeah.
All right. It's kind of you saw that joke coming from a fucking mile away. But.
Yeah. But and the funny joke with this character is that he speaks, and there's probably a word for this.
There is.
What is it?
It's. Oh, please look it up.
Is there some kind of?
It's in the go to Wiki. I want to hear you say it. I think it's like anti-podolodiism or something.
Antimably?
Good enough for me. I can't see it.
It's the hyperbole, so it's antimably rhetoric, which is you're speaking. I guess whatever you say in one half of a sentence, you just reverse it for the second half. So, and he just like it's disguised as sounding brilliant, but it's just the same stuff repeated over and over again.
Over and over.
Again, this funny concept of the straight man, Ben Stiller's character in this crazy world who's just calling it out like, yo, you just want to, but he's so over the top. Like he just needed to play it more grounded and not so, Fokker. He's playing it very like
it's too much.
Yeah, if he just would have played it straight,
I agree.
And as the voice of reason amongst
because I like the character. I like how he looks. I like the idea of it.
I do too.
He just fucks it up.
Yeah,
he really does. He's the worst part in the movie.
Yeah, it's not the best. We've said it's not the best Ben Stiller, but this was where we get maybe about 30 seconds in a montage where they're walking on coals. All Star by Smash Mouth comes on, which kind of jolts you to reality into the time and place this movie came out. And I didn't realize it because I associate it with two other movies. Shrek. You can't disassociate All Star from Shrek. It's.
I always associated it with Mystery
really,
Men.
See, for me, it was Shrek.
I was there, man.
The fact that Rat Race ends with a music video for this song.
Totally forgot.
Yeah, with the band in it.
I love Smash Mouth.
Really?
Walking on the Sun is one of the best songs ever.
I will give you that one's probably.
It's so good.
All Star.
Look, here's the thing. I had
was so overplayed.
I had Fushu Mang, the album that Walking on the Sun was on. It's a fucking great album. They're a good band. After that, I think All Star was either a single or on the next album. Yeah, I mean, they went super commercial.
But this is the movie that kind of put it out there.
Dude, I remember seeing the music video and going like, I can't wait to watch Mystery Men.
And then I'm listening to the commentary the other night, and he's like, yeah, we some of these scenes appear in the music video. I'm like, there's no way. And like they sent it because I watched it. I couldn't believe.
I saw that music video so many times.
Not only that, but the music video is shot on the set.
Yup.
I
think they flipped the car, right?
I miss when because I mean, all the way back when we did Nothing But Trouble with the same song. When we used to tie
like
these
NWA
music videos into the movies, and they almost felt like an extension of the movie. I love that shit.
Well, that was one of the ways you'd see clips,
yes,
too, back in the day.
Yeah.
No internet.
Yeah. And the Smash Mouth, the music video here for All Star, it's cut interspersed with them at the tryout scene where it looks like they're watching the band. It's just cool. I don't know. I think I'm just nostalgic for this.
Cannot be overstated how big that song was. To the point where, like I said, I really liked Smash Mouth. At least that first album. Or, sorry, I don't know, whatever.
Rest in peace to...
Steve Harwell, yeah, for sure. But, like, that song was so unavoidable and ubiquitous that you hated it.
I can still remember being at a certain point in school and everyone walking around with the L on their forehead. Like, everyone would do that.
I mean, I still know all the words.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so funny, though, because, I mean, it's like, for Shrek, to me, that was like... And
see,
that's
for
a couple
Shrek,
years
to me,
after
it's
this.
I'm a Believer. That's what I know them from.
Are you kidding me? That huge opening scene with the outhouse opening.
Is it All Star?
Oh my god! Yeah,
I haven't seen Shrek since I was.
And he opens the outhouse door.
Oh, sure.
And then it's him like doing all gross shit around the swamp.
Yeah.
I'm currently,
It's been so long.
It'll probably be out by the time this podcast episode comes out. I'm working on the video on The Road to El Dorado, which is the third DreamWorks animation film. And it's so interesting how Shrek just completely changed how they did animation. Mm-hmm. It was so massive, and so they were really doing like that interesting like hand-drawn / computer animated combo.
Yeah.
Prince of Egypt. Like
everyone raves about that. I've been hearing a lot of like people are going like, this was amazing.
I was watching clips of it in preparation for the video I'm doing because El Dorado does it similarly, and it's interesting. Now, Katzenberg is the guy who basically invented the casting the big name person in the voiceover roles. He's responsible for that because before then it was just character actors, and then he kind of got Robin Williams into Aladdin, which. He pissed off Robin Williams because there's a whole story there about him. But yeah, it's interesting that just Shrek was so big for so many reasons. But
God, All Star you couldn't get away from it. You could not escape it. And it's funny that it did not translate to people going.
No,
well, me it did.
Yeah,
because I was like, I can't wait to see Mystery Man. I was super hyped for this movie.
Do you remember what the atmosphere in the theater was like? Can you recall?
Empty.
Really?
I think it was empty, yeah. I was always thrilled when that happened.
Yeah. I don't think I saw... I had the VHS, I know that. I don't think I saw this in theaters. But
yeah, I was super hyped for it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it had everyone I like in it. Smash Mouth.
I mean, you were much more optimistic.
So much so. Oh, God, pre-millennium Ryan. What a happy little guy.
And as all this stuff is going on, we're also intercut with Casanova's mansion that he has.
Yeah.
And I guess we glanced over it, but he has essentially kidnapped Captain Amazing.
Yeah, like he gets released and immediately Captain Amazing goes...
He blows up the asylum, and then he kidnaps Captain Amazing. And it's funny because everyone's trying to track down Lance, his alter ego, to tell him to find Captain Amazing. And Ben Stiller's character, again, the only one, like, they're the same person.
Yeah.
I know they are. So I guess his plan is, help me out here maybe if you remember this better. He's developed this device that's going to like a laser that's going to blow up the city or something.
Essentially,
and he's
destroy the city.
also taken Captain Amazing hostage in this chamber he has, and he has assembled these like other gangs to witness this. I don't even know. And
he's getting all the consolidating power.
One's the frat boys,
which. Dude, I'm watching it and I'm like, that head is so distinct. It's like a big block.
Yeah.
And the hair.
Yeah.
Like the surfer California hair. And I'm like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that looks a lot like Michael Bay.
Yeah. Sure enough.
It's Michael Bay.
And I'm listening to the commentary track on this, and that's where he confirms it. And the commentary track for this was not recorded like a couple of years ago. It was probably for the DVD, because he says like, "Oh, that's Michael Bay. He's directed a couple films." It was like, before he's become this punchline in terms of
done The Rock by then at least, or
but
Con Air.
I think Transformers was the one that really like.
I've never seen any of those.
I haven't either. Have you ever seen that clip of him walking off stage? It's
yes, it is really funny.
It's like you couldn't bullshit your way through that presentation.
I think I've told the story on the
teleprompter
He's
failing.
so funny.
He's like, I can't.
Nothing.
Yeah.
He has nothing. I worked at the University of Penn years ago, and they were filming Transformers 2 on the campus. And I've never seen money wasted like that. You could tell. There was a famous, like, it's a lot of old nice buildings on the campus.
Why the fuck were they filming it there of all places?
He was in college. LaBouffe was in college.
Was it doubling for somewhere else, or was it supposed to be?
I don't know if it was supposed to be Penn, but Penn, it's a beautiful campus.
Yeah, it is.
Old buildings, all that crap. Anyway, there's this one old frat that's like right in the center almost, and it's a great building. Perfect. They were putting shrubbery out front, like the perimeter, to dig them up again.
Right.
Like they didn't stay.
Yeah.
Those shrubbery is not in the shot. From what I can tell.
It's funny when you witness.
I'm like, wow.
When you witness like a major
here.
Hollywood production, you see that firsthand. Do you remember the show Hack that used to be on? It was a
David Morse, right?
Yeah, procedural. They filmed it at. I had a great aunt who was a Catholic nun, and they filmed it in her convent. And I remember it was like they had to they wanted a room a different color, so they had to pay to have all the furniture moved, pay to have it painted, pay to have it painted back. It was just like you realize how much.
So stupid.
Because we talk about all the time. I'm a big proponent of filming in a physical location, not a set. And you start to see why sets are so much more practical, because it's some of the stuff. And that's in this movie. I love that there is a lot of the whole under the L, that's all in that's not a set. That's a physical location.
Oh, is it?
They doctored up. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, it looks great.
It looks great.
Wow.
The only thing in this movie set wise that does not look great is they used that. I hate it. It's the Universal brownstone set. That has all the buildings.
Oh,
with
sure. That did look out of place.
Oh my god! Because the rest of this movie looks so interesting and
that was a little out of place.
When you cut to that just generic, it's like the Seinfeld city street.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about this movie that I think just doesn't work is the romance, the Claire and
it gets him to the realization point, but it's so drawn out, and she should have got more to do.
It's funny, even in the end when she just shows up in the commentary, the director was like, yeah, this was left over from another draft of script that we didn't even bother trying to tie into the make sense. Because I guess not only that, she shows up and she's wearing a kimono.
Yeah.
And it's how did they know to get it? But I loved it. I gotta give props to the director, because he was just such a fun, he was optimistic, and he had such great stories about it. And just to hear him be like, yeah, there were 20 drafts of the script, and this is just something that we couldn't really film around. We just sent it at the end of the day. He was, I guarantee some of these actors were a nightmare to work with, and he was probably just let's get through it. Whatever, we'll just shoot the thing. And
who do you think was a nightmare?
I don't want to point fingers.
Point a finger. Oh, well, yeah, he didn't want to be there. Yeah. But I like to jump back. I love all those the gangs, suits.
The suits.
The Susies who were this weird fey Japanese thing.
And this is that.
The not so goody mob, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, that looks like CeeLo Green, and I'm like, wait a second, it's just the goody mob.
Yeah,
it's the group.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's funny. I'm sorry.
As the not so goody mob. Yeah, it's funny, and it is, again, it's very Batman 1966, where it's all the villains and their henchmen dress alike.
Yeah, the one suit was his name was Big Tobacco, and he's got I love that.
Another
shit.
underdeveloped thing though is the woman that also worked in the asylum.
Oh, she had nothing to do. Lena Olin.
He even said their subplot got cut out, but she was I
bet she doesn't even have a line.
She doesn't have a line, but she's she's on the parole board when Casanova gets released, and throughout the movie she's kind of on his arm as his love interest. It's really not, but Another thing about the second half of this movie, it's just like they go there, they leave, they come back. It really could have been one action set piece where they just show up and all this happens. But
yeah, the going and coming back did drag it down for sure.
They decide to show up at the Casanova's mansion, and they infiltrate it, and they end up killing Captain Amazing, which...
Craig Kinnear's so funny in this scene.
Yeah, push the lever. He's like yelling at them. He's aggressive. Yeah. And I love at one point, he's just like, it's me. I'm Lance. I'm both people. And they're like...
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
And William H. Macy's stunned.
Yeah.
That part is great.
But he's yelling at them. He's like... He's being nasty.
It's really funny.
And they fuck it all up and kill him.
Yeah.
In a CGI thing that I think works. It doesn't look bad.
No.
For 1999,
looks excellent.
His face gets distorted, and like,
it's really
not
good.
only that, they then cut to the physical prop.
It's great,
and it's like, yeah, I guess this thing just like nukes you. I don't know, it pulls you apart.
Seems like that.
But the director, great directing touch here, man. Janeane Garofalo's character goes to feel his pulse, and she touches the hand, and it falls off.
Dude, I'm telling you,
that he didn't tell her that, so that reaction was natural of her touching it and it falling apart. Stuff like that, I love it.
Yeah.
You know, you read. I was reading. I forget what movie it was, but character had to take a shot all through rehearsals. It's water. When they film, the director puts vinegar in so little stuff like that. Where as long as you're not being like super harmful or degrading, like forcing like the element of surprise with actors, it's a cool thing. And I like Kinka Usher for doing that here.
Yeah,
you know,
I like too how technically the Blue Raja does kill him.
Yeah.
But there's that whole thing. It's like, well, we're all there, but you kind of did it.
They keep getting him shit the whole rest of the movie.
It's pretty good. And he doesn't... what I liked is it didn't... A lot of times, like, a character will do that, inadvertently kill someone. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. And they, I've lost control. I can't... But he's just like, I didn't mean to.
You know, it's a weird bit, though. So they're all inside, and then you have the spleen and Invisible Boy are outside. And the skunk starts humping the spleen.
So much animal humping in the 90s.
Man.
So much.
That's another thing. It's because it's like,
so much.
Is he humping him because he stinks? Like, is that the joke?
Yeah,
like,
that's the joke.
And I remember watching this as a kid and being like, what does he mean? Just go with it. Like, why are they just letting this skunk do that? Like, it wasn't.
You grew up with dogs.
I know. Trust me. My childhood dog used to hump everything, and I just didn't think it was I didn't think it was anything sexual. I just thought it was a weird thing for a dog to be doing.
That's true. When you're young, you don't know.
And
what
I
they're
remember
doing.
once, like as a kid, my dog had done up my stuffed animal or something, and I was like about to tell my Graham, I was like, "Oh, Graham, you have to hear what the dog did." And my mom would be like, and I remember like, "Why? What is the big deal? The dog was just, Because as a kid, you just think it's a goofy thing that animals do.
Absolutely.
I remember going to the zoo and seeing turtles do it. It was just like, you don't. I don't know. That part of your brain doesn't. At least for me,
you don't. You have no frame of reference.
So as they're escaping this, the Raja drops a fork in the chamber, and they leave. All these henchmen are led by Casanova. Come in to see Captain Amazing hostage. See he's dead. Casanova takes credit for it, just like, this is what I did, and now they're going to take over the city. Part of this movie that kind of doesn't really work for me, honestly, is like Mr. Furious, like having his like I'm gonna leave moment, like I don't know, like what you guys are doing. Yeah, the redemption arc of him, it's not. He's got that scene with what is the name of Claire character? Monica, I think. He's got that scene where he walks her home and he starts to. We also touched on it briefly, but they end up hiding out in this. I love an abandoned amusement park always when it's in something. But Tom Waits' character Heller has this kind of laboratory in an old amusement park. He makes all these weapons that are non-lethal. Some funny scenes with stuff like that. There's a blame thrower, which is a gun you shoot and everyone just starts arguing with one another. There's cool stuff like that. The egg salad sandwich scene, I think it's a kind of a good scene. Yeah. I think William H. Macy's really good in it. That impassioned speech about rallying everyone together, using the egg salad as
making it in the background
and using it as like a plot device. It's interesting. The music's done in a really fun way.
Yeah.
It gets them all together. And yeah, Mr. Furious shows back up. They all reconcile, and they're going to go after Casanova Frankenstein. And yeah, I agree with you. This is because they get this tank that's at the junkyard that comes back. This really cool vehicle, by the way.
Yeah.
But the whole time, like, Mr. Furious is having like this self-doubt that he can't do it. And it doesn't really do anything for me.
You know where it's going. But yeah, man, because the Sphinx says, like, okay, or maybe Macy says it, I forget who. It's like, if you have any loved ones, we might not make it out, so go talk to them. Macy gets the good moment with the wife.
That's a really cool moment where she's like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
Yeah.
I have to do this.
Yeah, there may not be some place to come back to, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But man, that Hank Azaria scene's really good.
It's really good.
I'm just like surprised.
So
like,
he...
And that, I think it's Louise Lasser.
Yeah.
From Mary Hartman.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just
perfect in that role.
When you have a good actor,
Still
they can
alive, by the
sell
way.
those bit parts like that, and she's perfect.
Because you think she's going to laugh him out of
She's
existence.
proud of him.
And she's like, wait, the idea that she's saving her grandmother's silverware for his wedding, and she's kind of like, I don't think that day's going to be anytime soon.
Yeah.
And she just gives him all the great silver. I do like the fact that the suit up, the new suits, everyone, like, that's the other thing.
He
too.
gets a little blue in there finally.
That is they're like, he's not even blue.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just a funny bit.
But it's like, can you do the voice for me? It's like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a cool moment. Yeah, and when they end up going in, they crash through this. They have the tank. They crash through the gates into Casanova's lair, and big magnet comes out of the top. The van takes all the guns, and then that's the shocking thing, man. It's that all throughout this whole last action set piece, they all have things to do relating to their powers. When Hank Azaria starts to throw the forks at the wall for Mr. Furious to climb up, that's such a cool use of that power.
Yeah.
The Invisible Boy turning out, he actually can be invisible.
It's earned.
It's an earned moment.
Yes.
The spleen farting and killing them all. Like, he gets shot in the ass at one point, but he's still doing it. It's like it's a machine gun.
But I have to say, like, really, all you have to do is knock on the door and throw the bowling ball in there. I mean, come on. And that part does suck because Eddie Izzard killed Carmine the bowler.
Yeah,
so her whole
father.
thing is he wants to avenge, the death. That scene happens like he's like, here I am, and she throws the ball.
I don't know if I have a problem with that because you
It's
almost
so
expect it will be like a big thing. The fact that it just kind of is just like whoop and crashes him through the wall.
Fair enough.
I'm okay with it.
Maybe a little more. He should have like speechified a little more.
Yeah.
Or something.
I agree.
It just was a little too quick. But
That's my problem with that fucking Dial of Destiny movie, because you watch all those Indiana Jones movies where all the villains meet their ends, and that hulking guy, you don't even see him die. He just gets chained. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't keep.
The more I think about that movie, I think the more I like it. I
have some problems with that movie. I can't not have. I gotta.
It had some serious issues, but honestly, I
gotta make a video on it. I think it's
it's
boiling down to that. Anyway, yeah, they all have a use for their power, and they end up using the bowling ball. Well, not only that, also, Mr. Furious, we finally see his rage.
Has the Sphinx done anything at this point?
No, he kind of
does nothing.
He leaves the movie at this point.
He's my least favorite costume too.
Yeah, it's.
I don't like his costume.
It's almost the same as the ballerina man from earlier. Do you know
a little bit? Yeah.
The guy that
I don't like his hood.
I don't either.
I don't like it. Everyone else looks cool. Wow, the spleen's a little lame. But
I think the only reason they did it that way, like he looks so costumed, is because again his character appeared earlier in the movie as a busboy, so it looks like.
I just didn't like his costume. That's all.
I get it, but
you got to remember. I think I said this previously. I was so hyped for this movie. I was not walking around everywhere, but
picture you with the action figures.
You're playing in the yard with your friends. I had a spade, shovel.
You were the shoveler.
I loved the shoveler. Dude, the trailer really sold me on this, man. And I just thought it looked cool the way he spins the shovel. And I love the idea of like low rent superheroes as a kid. I hadn't thought about something like that. It was never presented to me. I think even Paul Reubens said it.
Yeah.
He was like, no one had ever really done anything like this. Like, maybe they had in some form.
I kind of like
but...
the gun that makes the clothes shrink too. That's
awesome.
Cool thing. That was very Austin Powers to me though. That was like that whole scene where like they all come out in the circular bed.
It was you're right. That is very Austin Powers. The furriers.
Yeah, it turns out that Casanova has this Clara Forlani character, which we're not going to even the director again was like whatever. He just has her somehow. He was like, we just needed the movie to wrap up. We were like at that point.
The two Disco Boys did. They were like, oh, look at this. Like, that wasn't a moment where they saw the two of them together.
That's why I wanted to ask you. Did I miss something there?
Yeah, there was. It was real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that's kind of what, interacts as Fury. But yeah, he ends up defeating, he beats the shit out of Casanova. And then the bowler, we should also say the bowler, she communicates with this ball. Only she can hear the voice. She has a relationship with it, which is an interesting characterization. I think that works. Yeah. And she ends up throwing it into this laser device he's using to bomb the city. It destroys it.
By the way, there's a quick moment. He turns the device on and it starts to affect the city. That one shot,
where it's like distorting all the yeah.
I was like, it caught me off guard. I was like, whoa! I was like, this is good.
When CGI was, we always hit on it. I hate to sound like a broken record. When
we'll do it every show.
When it's used as a tool to alter already practical environments, it works. That's the thing about, even with Captain Amazing's death, like it cuts to a real prop. If this were a movie made today, there would be no real prop even. It would just, the whole thing would end up being an animated sequence. Yeah. And this, it's welcome because, again, it's 1999. We weren't doing a lot of it. But even the bits that are used, it's used sparingly in a way to enhance the already practical effects. Works.
I was thinking about on my fun drive over here, to piss him out about Killers of the Flower Moon a little bit more. No, the whole cow thing. He's like, well, the cows, they don't want to stand in the sun. They want to be in the shade. So we had to put CGI cows in. And I'm like, that's even more unrealistic.
Yeah.
Why are all these cows out in the sun? They wouldn't do that, but just not even thinking. Not even thinking it through.
And again, look, the majority of CGI in movies is good enough that you don't realize it's there. It is used.
Where? When?
There are examples of it being used in a way that's not super noticeable.
Sure, it's happened.
Yes. But some of these movies, it's just they rely too much on it, and you lose any... We're going to talk about this movie on Patreon, the one I watched that was released recently. It's you said it with the Killers of Flower Moon, cartoonish.
Yes,
cartoon in... it
looks like a cartoon.
There's no other way around it.
No.
It's an animated. Yeah, it just.
I know.
I can't fucking believe that.
I know, man.
So, I guess even though she destroys this thing with the bowling ball, it's saved because we get that.
The ball.
The ball comes back.
Yeah.
And I always like when there's a button at the end that kind of. Gives us why they're called mystery men. You got this whole movie known as mystery men, and then it's like the reporter on television. She's like, "What should we call you guys?" Like, "Oh, we don't really have a name." She's like, "Well, we need to thank these mystery men." And then the Sphinx goes, "I've got it. Where are the?" What's he say?
He hears it, like, "Oh, that's it."
And he goes,
"Super Squad.
We're the Super Squad." And then somebody as it comes back at the very end, smash cut.
But I like when the families, like the Shoveler's family, is singing. The kids like, "That's my dad," and like the mom sees Blue Raja on TV.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is all good.
I know. I was shocked by how much at the end of the day I enjoyed it. I think there is a lot wrong with this movie. I think that its problems aren't enough to make me not recommend it, though.
It's a recommend for me.
It's a recommend. Another one where this movie could get a midnight screening,
Enjoy it. It's too long.
It really
is too long.
It's too long.
It sucks.
And that's the other thing too. It's when you watch it, you realize how much they cut out. You're like, it was just probably a script problem, multiple revisions, multiple drafts that didn't really work. So they weren't sure what to include, what not to include, and it kind of detracts from the movie. If this movie were about 20 minutes shorter and some of the glaring, gaping plot holes could still be addressed.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at that was the surprising thing for me though. On IMDb, it sits at a 6.1. So I'm like, I guess people do like this movie. Like, it did get its fair share of haters from critics. It did get its fair share of hate from the audience, but there are people that also like it. More so than, I think people are more vocal about liking this movie than something like the Super Mario Brothers or Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
I think it's there's a lot
an
to like
enjoyable
here.
movie. I'm sorry, I could watch a Blue Raja movie. Like,
that was cool. I like the character.
I wish he acted more. He's good. Every time he's in something,
pile of cash he can just rest on. Well, it's a surprisingly enjoyable movie. I can see why it didn't work when it came out. Especially you're coming out against Sixth Sense that summer,
and I can see why people don't like it. So I can understand that.
I can too.
But it's it's something about time passing and just seeing where things are now. And it's like, wow. I mean, like. There is that. It's looking back. It's sometimes it just is what it is. Sometimes you're like,
I can't. As we do this, especially we did Wild Wild West. I come back to these movies that I grew up with that I watched way more than nowadays. I see a movie I really enjoy. I watch it. Maybe the following year I'll revisit it. Movies like this, I felt like I was rewatching it every other month. Friends would come over. You guys got to see Mystery Men. There's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about these movies that were worth showing other people, were worth revisiting as kids, and just it's fun. It's super ridiculous. It's super silly. not the best, but in terms of just like an enjoyable kind of different movie, I recommend.
It's an almost cult classic.
It is. But we're going to keep these mics rolling because we're talking about two movies that we're not recommend. Spoiler alert, right? You're not going to recommend either of the movies you saw. You might recommend one.
Oh yeah, I might.
Okay.
I might recommend one. Yeah,
It's going to be an interesting discussion, though. Talk about some more amateur superhero movies and stuff like that. So if you support us on Patreon, patreon.com/almostcultclassics, that's where that will be. And then next time on the show, what are we doing? Do you want to?
We're gonna do Bowfinger.
Bowfinger, which might be another 1999. We really
dude?
It was a year. It was a hell of a year.
98, 99, man. Good stuff.
And we're hitting like a sweet spot for me of movies that like I grew up watching that I haven't seen in years. I kind of like revisiting them to see how if I was right or wrong as a kid. You know?
For sure. Yeah.
So Bowfinger is a
Frank
1999
Oz?
Frank Oz. So we're going to talk a little bit about him. Maybe we'll do. He's got enough stuff on.
We'll find
Patreon.
We'll figure
something out. But yeah, to those of you who support us on Patreon, we will see you over there for a follow-up discussion. And to those of you that don't, we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening.